This week, I wanted to talk to you about a very important subject to me, ordinary disciplinary violence. I already made a couple videos about it, such as adultism and the list, but I realized I never talked to you about the basics of the children's brain and why I am so against the so ordinary violence. I am very passionate about this subject, but also very upset, because whenever I talk about it, the excuses I get are, my parents raised me like that and I turn out just fine. You know, children need to understand who's in control. If you don't show some power, they're gonna become stubborn. It truly makes me sad when an adult talks about showing power and control rather than love and empathy. I wish we would live in a world where people would seek more information and be more curious about this subject when they hear about it, rather than just giving excuses. Because in the past 10 and 20 years there's been so many development about this subject, there's so many new information that are available for us, and now even with internet we just need to go and look for them to have those information. So in order for me to try and open the discussion about this subject, I'd like to talk to you about what's happening in a baby's brain. I'd like to remind you that all information I am going to give you in these videos are facts, scientific development, not my guesses, not my opinions, just facts. And all links are going to be available in the description below, so you can get curious and learn more if you'd like to. First of all, it has been proved that babies' brain react the exact same way as adults' one, and that all healthy babies are born with the same amount of neurons. What changes through time and that makes every children different is the connections between those neurons. A bit as if neurons were cities and the connections were the roads from one city to another. What will build and develop those roads is the environment a child grows in. The neuroscience actually proved that the environment is the thing that has the most impact on the development. I'll give you some example a bit later. I often hear parents saying there's no need to explain this or that, he's too young, he doesn't understand, for things such as going to the doctor, for example. But actually, children can understand things from their youngest age. Doctors realized that minutes-old babies could already start to copy what they see. Even though they were just born, they were already copying the face they were seeing because they were absorbing all the information they were getting. Even though children develop language later than movement, children who are taught simplified sign language for their first needs and feelings can already start to sign at 6 months old only. So much about not understanding, right? Scientists realize that unlike any other species, humans were actually curious. No matter the test that they were given, from the youngest age, the human will always try to understand what's happening, no matter the age. A few years back, we thought that the only needs a baby had was eating, sleeping, and being cleaned. But with all the new studies that there's been in the past 10 or 20 years, we realize that there is a lot more than that. With such things like attention, discoveries. For example, if a child drops some water on the floor, he don't do that because he wants to annoy you. He do that because for him it's like an experience. It's the first time he sees something dropping, so he's gonna try again and again. Scientists realize that affective security is actually as important as every other needs. To go back to those roads and cities I was telling you about earlier, this is how it works. When you go from one city to another a first time, you're gonna create a way. Then if you do it a second time, it's gonna become a road. And then it's gonna become a national, etc, etc. And the more you're gonna take that way, the more you're gonna develop it, and the more it's gonna stay in your brain. The difference between an adult and a child is that the child doesn't have those roads yet. And the fact that there is no roads yet, it allows you to create all the good roads you want for your child. When for an adult, it is very hard to destroy the road that's already there to create another one with a better path. That's why it's so important from the youngest age to take care about which road we want to construct. So for example, if every night you're coming home stressed and you're bathing your child, still stressed, and you're like, no, it's just a bath, I'm doing it quick and that's it, your baby, because every night he's taking that same road, is gonna associate bathing to stress, for example. If every time you need something from your child, you're using authority because he's a child, then in his brain he's gonna think, if someone is inferior than me, I am allowed to use violence and strength. Because I need to show authority. I need to show control. Just like when people say this child is manipulating you, is actually just copying what you just did maybe a few days ago, a few months ago. Because children before 7 years old doesn't realize, are not able mentally, they don't have the connections to manipulate you. So all they do is copy you. On the other hand, if you're a very polite person, if every time something goes wrong, you're putting words on it, putting feelings on it, and explaining what's happening, why it's happening, and what you're gonna do to make it better, then your child is gonna have a lot more empathy and grow with a lot more empathy, develop this empathy and this love rather than learning about violence. And no, he won't become a king child or a stubborn child just because you're empathic and non-violent with him. I'll make a video about it very soon because it's a whole subject that's so interesting. Children feels and absorb a lot more things than adult does. I think that's not new and you are aware about it. And everything they take as a child, they'll use it to become grown-ups. It's been proved, again, all links are in description, that children are all born with the same intelligence and the same empathy. And that's a parent's job to create the right environment for your child to develop that empathy and that intelligence. Now let's just switch role for a minute. Imagine you're working in a company where your job is actually giving you useless rules. He's not allowing you to eat at the same table as him because you're inferior. He's using fear to control you. He's lying to you. He's manipulating you. Would you want to stay in that company? Or would you try and find another job as soon as you can? Now imagine another company with a boss that is very empathic, that doesn't say yes all the time, but when he says no, he'll explain why, he'll make sure that you understand why, and he'll make sure that there is other options to be offered. Would you ever change job if this is your boss? I don't think so. Now if I had to choose between working for this boss or this boss, I'd work for the empathic one. It doesn't mean that I'll be in holidays all year, it doesn't mean that I'll be relaxed all the time, but it means that when something will happen that I'm not happy with, I know that I'll be supported by this boss rather than having to hide myself and cry in the corner because I'm not happy. Now that I've given you some facts, let me give you my opinion about this subject. To me, a child shouldn't be treated as an adult because he isn't one. He doesn't control his emotion as one, but he is as clever as an adult. Indeed, if I teach something to both a child and an adult, such as a new language, who do you think will learn faster? You're right, the child. And because children are so clever, it is so important to treat them with equality and respect, and we shouldn't expect them to respect an adult who doesn't respect them. Let's not use the excuse, he's too young, he can't understand, when actually we're too old, we can't change our point of view and we don't have enough patience. It's us who aren't enough patient or respectful to explain to him what's happening. So now I hope that instead of saying, yes, our parents raised us like that, yes, they did their best with the information that were available for them at that time, but now there is so many new informations available. It is possible to raise a child without any violence, adultism or anything else. And you are telling me you don't want to hear about it because your parents did it with and it was fine? Now imagine you are that child. Wouldn't you like to at least try, to at least get some information and see if that's possible for you? Well, I do, and I will, I can tell you already. Voila, that's all I wanted to say for this video. I don't want it to make it too long, but I'll definitely make a lot more videos about this subject. I hope you like this video and that you want to get more information, because it's so important. The children of today are the adults of tomorrow, and everything plays from the youngest age. So why wouldn't you want to try? I'll definitely make more videos about this subject because it's something I'm so passionate about, and I hope you will be too. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to share the video if you've learned something new and if you think that's as important as I think, and together we can change the world.